meeting to order. Zebulon Commissioners meeting, 8/9/2022. Commissioner Clark, would you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I will. I still want one there. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we have the approval of the agenda, and first we will have a removal under Parks and Rec, Haircraft.
The Haircraft?
Yes,
You said a removal?
yes.
Okay.
They have rescinded their application
Okay.
for the alleyway.
And I need to pull the June 6th regular meeting minutes, as well as the board meeting schedule change.
What do you think?
And I also need to add budget adjustments. Commissioner Laux?
If I could, I'd like to add an item under new business for development updates. That's business development updates in town.
Okay.
I'd like to pull May 3rd, 2022 special call meeting minutes. Also, ordinance 2023-01, fiscal year 22 projects and program rollovers, as well as ordinance 2023, fiscal year 2022 donations and grants rollover.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Ordinance 2023-02, fiscal year 22, donations and grant rollovers. And last, resolution 2023-07, Governor's Crime Commissioner grant application.
Yours are under D also?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved as amended.
With the
Second?
minutes? All in favor? Motion passes. Okay.
Where's the, I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
Okay. You can scratch that one, the May 3rd one as well.
it's already been done,
Gotcha.
so we'll
You want to remove that one?
Yes, it's already been corrected. I see the corrected version before me right here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Public comment period. Looks like we have one. Susan Pierce.
Hello, my name is Susan Pierce, live at 434 Rogers Road in Zebulon. I am also on the board of the Zebulon Downtown Arts Council, better known as ZDAC. Just want to give you an update of some of the things that we've been up to. During the pandemic, we focused some of our goals on public art. So one of the things that we did was to have the sculpture put in the alleyway. The sculpture was created by a guy named Wayne Trapp. He also did the sculpture outside the factory in Wake Forest. You may have seen that cog out there. We worked with the Bagpipe Store. We worked with Brian Bullock and Joe Brady and the art teacher at Zebulon Middle School to create that beautiful mural that you saw in the store. It has born in Scotland, made in Zebulon. I think that was a really neat little project there. We also worked with the Haircraft mural. We worked with the town who provided the funds to help coordinate some of the efforts and get the muralists and get the contracts created for that. We painted faces at the St. Patrick's Day Festival. We also participated in Springfest by doing butterfly mosaics with the kids. We painted the butterfly in the alleyway. Some of our board members actually got out there and helped paint that along with some other friends. We did some temporary murals up in the downtown area and some of the empty storefronts to make it look more beautiful so that you didn't just look at just an empty space there. We did one during the fall season, and we did another one during Christmas. We are also doing some pop-up shows with local artwork. There's one now at Whitley Galleries if you want to go see it, and if you're interested in buying one of those pieces, I can hook you up. Right now, we're also working on a community spotlight grant with the United Arts Council. We've been working on that for the last month. The focus of this particular grant was to feature art and artists from historically marginalized and underfunded communities. So what we decided to do was to write a grant that would put some permanent art which would represent and commemorate our annual Juneteenth event. The grant would fund 2 large art panels, 4x8 on 107 West Horton Street. We've also spoken with the owners of the building and Design Dimensions about getting this. We should hear from that at the end of September. So hopefully we'll get that grant. Would like to invite each and every one of you to our ZDAC meetings. We meet the 3rd Thursday of the month, every month at normally at Dallas Pierce Realty. And I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate all the efforts that the ZDAC brings to the community. Thank you. Do we have anyone online that,
No, sir.
anyone else wishes to speak? Okay. So we'll close the public comment period. Do we need to add a special recognition for Chief Perry to recognize?
Pardon me?
I don't have anything for special recognition.
Okay. Consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Next, we have the utility allocation policy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Before you tonight is a continuation of our discussion and potential action regarding the utility allocation policy. It is broken into 2 components. Ordinance 23-05 is an ordinance to amend Section 1 of our Unified Development Ordinance. This is the regulatory contents that relates back to the policy, which is before you as Resolution 2304. Kind of to recap, the utility allocation policy is a method of leveraging the municipal water and sewer system, the allocation that the town owns, to require better development or additional elements into the development. It creates a buffet list of options that will allow for developers to really tailor it to their needs based on the character of their development. It does require the amendment to Chapter 1 of our Unified Development Ordinance, specifically requiring all developments that are for non-residential development, new development, residential development of 3 or more dwelling units, conditional zoning requests, plan developments, special land use requests, as well as major subdivision requests to conform to the utility allocation policy. What this does not include is if somebody wants to come in and do a basic lot split where they have enough parcel or enough land to get 2 dwellings on a parcel, they would not be applicable to the utility allocation policy. The policy itself is just that, it's a policy. It is something that will need to be revisited, amended, and modified over time based on changing needs of the characteristics. It really all starts with the base points. One thing that you'll notice in the modified version that was distributed tonight, the base points range from 10 to 40 points. Previously, those points were set a little bit higher. We brought those use classification points a little bit down based on comments. These are also structured on best practices, not only based on what we've heard from the development community, but also in reviewing what other municipalities do in terms of their application of the utility allocation policy. It is adapted to Zebulon. There are certain uses that we don't have, such as a hotel, where we need to really work with the development community in the best case scenario. It doesn't exempt them from meeting any of the policies, but it does change those thresholds based on the community's needs at this point in time. Once again, these needs will change over time, and that's why with a policy, it makes it much easier to adapt it and modify it accordingly as the board feels necessary. It also corresponds to the land use plan in terms of the distribution of different land uses. Right now, we have a large area that is going to be residential. You notice this starts out with the lowest base points, whereas commercial will start with a higher base points. It's also reflective of the market. There are certain things that are going to be more practical than others, as well as changing factors. One of the new items that you'll see in there is EV charging stations as a way to possibly get points, similar to what Smithfields did across the street. You also notice that there was a lot of modifications from last time you saw this, not only in terms of points, but also some of the use categories. There are certain uses, such as golf courses, that were previously listed as an item for bonus points. Well, that was adapted, and there was a component added with the outdoor recreation use, which included the golf courses, and we adapted that to include, you could also build residential with the golf course in order to meet the mixed use bonus points. So it substantially changed the thresholds as it related to golf courses. The bonus points to make up the base points are broken into 4 categories, the first of which is nonconformity abatement and public infrastructure improvement. Best case is we have a whole bunch of signs, as shown in the picture in certain locations, changing out those signs to bring them into compliance with our UDO. Same thing with infrastructure improvements. These would be infrastructure improvements above and beyond what the ordinance requires, what the transportation plan requires, and what the TIA would otherwise require as the minimum improvements. Green development and building standards, as well as site design. This really goes into making sure that we're getting quality design that is also environmentally friendly. Things such as the EV charging station. As a great example, while it's in an amenity center, it does kind of fit this parameter as well. The other is making sure that we have high quality architectural design, primarily associated with residential development. At one point, municipalities had much more authority to regulate architectural design for residential dwellings, but that changed. So now we can utilize this as a potential tool to get high quality residential development. Outdoor enhancement and transit improvements. Once again, the transit improvements would be above and beyond what the ordinance would allow. And then the outdoor enhancements would be things such as this here, which is the entry feature for Sweetwater over in Apex. Having things where it creates a sense of place, where a sense where people want to gather. Something that is context-sensitive design, characteristic of the neighborhood, the development of what they're trying to build. The last of the category, which is specific only to the residential components, is the amenities. These would include pools, clubhouses, other outdoor recreation things, once again, above and beyond what the UDO might allow. So to summarize, you'll still need to get 50 points, but all those base points were brought down in response to the conversations at the last meetings. The new base points run from 10 to 40 points. The UDO amendment in Chapter 1 would be necessary to require us to enact this policy. And once again, the policy and points can be amended periodically based on changing conditions within the town, changing market conditions, as well as new factors that we might need to take into consideration. The Planning Board did unanimously recommend adoption of the UDO text amendment to Chapter 1, which is the ordinance amendment before you tonight, at the April 11th, 2022 meeting, and that was following the joint public hearing. Staff recommends approval of both the amendment and the accompanying policy as amended before you tonight. So the options tonight are to amend to further amend the policy as proposed, possibly table it, or approve as recommended. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Board have any questions, comments?
Yes, I think that there are some amendments that I would like to see. Somewhere, and I'm not sure where this would fit, Mike, I would certainly defer to your expertise.
Yes,
Concur.
I concur as well.
Okay.
I'd also like to add around 2 or 3 points for a 15 by 15 pollinator garden, as opposed to a community garden, a pollinator garden, which wouldn't necessarily require the same water access.
Could you explain the pollen air garden?
So a pollinator garden would just be an area that is planted out with specifically pollinator-friendly plants. It will attract hummingbirds, beneficial insects. A lot of new developments are doing it, and it's very low maintenance.
Thank you.
Enhancement.
And then I believe Commissioner Laux had a couple.
Yeah, I have a couple other ones to recommend. One, we consider 1 point for planting a dozen native trees as approved by the town. We're having massive clear cutting with these new subdivisions, and we do need to backfill with some trees.
With a limit to...
That was going to be my
Yeah.
question. 10-point max limit.
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Another one for consideration is when we do have storms in town, so under the single-use retail section, possibly add or revise a restaurant that's newly constructed, be 30 points to try to drive more restaurants in town, but new buildings. So following the same language you have there under 20 base points for a single-use retail, possibly revise that to read newly constructed single-use standalone building used primarily for a restaurant.
Okay.
And then keep the others at...
Prep area, kitchen, those things.
Okay.
And congratulate you for taking the base points from the 10 to 40, I think was a wise move. But because this is one of the few things we can ask a developer to earn the points to connect to our water sewer system, I think we need to consider starting off above 50 points. And I'm thinking maybe in the 65 to 70 range. And if we need to adjust it we can, but I think we need to ask for more than less.
Okay. One caveat with that, that's definitely a possibility, is just so you're aware that our point structure is currently as drafted here, more difficult to achieve than a lot of the other municipalities, and this is even going to further get that gap. There will be developments that will not come here because that gap is increased so that substantially. With this, I could still work with this, but I just want you to be aware that there potentially could be businesses that will choose to go someplace else because of that much of a gap if it goes up to 75.
So maybe we consider 60 for right now, and since this is a living document, we can always
Yeah.
go back and raise it if we think that's appropriate, or lower it if need
I'd be happy with 60 because we can always revise it back if we're losing too many projects.
We can do 60.
For me, before we go with 60, Mike, what is the average for the other municipalities? Do we have an average for that?
50.
50 is the average?
50 is the consensus with all the other municipalities. I think one of them might be at 45, and in the other municipalities, you have some uses that, by the nature of the use, meet the minimum requirements regardless of bonus points.
So the 60, is that a concurrence with the board?
Let's start off with 60.
I concur.
Okay.
What do you feel, Commissioner Harrison, good with that? You good with it?
Yeah, okay.
We will make that update.
Are there any other ones, or can we move to
Motion to approve.
approval?
Make the motion to approve.
If there are no more comments or amendments to it,
Okay.
then we can have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
With the adjustments.
Correct. I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2023-05, resolution 2023-04, text amendment 2022-05, utility allocation as of so amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
We will do a call vote. Commissioner Laus,
Favor?
Commissioner Harrison,
Favor.
Commissioner Clark,
Favor.
Commissioner Miles,
Favor.
Commissioner Baxter.
2 thumbs up.
Motion passes. Next, Angel Prince Corporation for facility use.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you for having me this evening to share a request that's come in. The municipal complex, the policy that is currently in place requires board authorization for facility use of this campus. And so we wanted to bring before you the request made by Angel Prince Corporation. This request is following similar requests that you've done in the past, such as with the Flags for Heroes, Zebulon Takes the Cake 5K, as well as Walk for Life. Angel Prince Corporation is a nonprofit led by Zebulon residents, Brandon and Tashina Wiggins, who are here this evening. And I'm going to give some information, but then I'm going to recognize them in case they want to share some additional information with you. But their goal with the event that they have proposed and with their organization is to bring awareness to pregnancy loss, stillbirth, infant loss, as well as to share compassion and hope to mothers, couples, families who have experienced this type of tragedy. The organization seeks to utilize the municipal complex to host a remembrance walk. Any funds that are raised will be used towards bringing awareness and providing support to families in need. The event is going to take place from 10 a.m. to noon, with setup beginning at 7 a.m. and to end by 2 p.m. The events committee did look at this application and provided recommendations on the route, and so that's what was provided to you. And I think at this time I'd like to recognize the Wiggins, who have also got their son Braden. I did get it right, didn't I? With them this evening. You will recognize Brandon Wiggins. He is a member of your Parks and Rec Advisory Board and has been for several years now. You will also recognize him from Team Zebulon. It's the initiative that we launched with the pandemic, and where we worked closely with the mayor and Eastlake TV, Wake County, to bring awareness to things going on with COVID. And Brandon and his son were highlighted in quite a few PSAs. Anytime we asked for their support to help communicate to our community members the importance of being safe during COVID, they never hesitated to support that. And so Brandon has also been a volunteer coach, and we are thankful for that, because as I've shared with all of you, that is a challenge that we have in operating our athletics, and so we appreciate that as well. And I'll turn it over to the two of you.
Thank you, Sheila. Good evening to Mr. Mayor, to the members of the board. Again, my name is Brandon Wiggins, and I have here with my wife, my wife, Tashina Wiggins. We founded Angel Prince this year, in March of this year. And as Sheila stated, our mission is to bring awareness to pregnancy loss, infant loss, and also stillbirth, as well as to provide support for bereaved mothers, couples, and families who've experienced it. We experienced that firsthand, which was a driving factor in us founding Angel Prince. We really feel like it's something that's really needed abroad, but you'd be surprised how many people, how many families, how many couples experience this tragedy but don't get an opportunity to say anything, or they don't have the courage to bring it up and talk about it, because there's a negative stigma that is associated with that. And that's part of our cause. We want to try to change that, and we feel like Zebulon is a very good place to grow it from. I don't know if I have any gardeners in here, but one of the critical keys to yielding a great harvest in your garden is to have great fertile soil. And we believe that Zebulon is that fertile soil that we can use to help grow this and expand it beyond the town limits, expand it beyond the county limits and the state limits, and so on and so forth. But we believe that this event will greatly benefit this community. One of the things that I love about Zebulon personally is that when there's something going on in the town, everybody is able to just come together and celebrate whatever the case, whatever the event may be. This town really gets behind whatever's going on, and we're able to celebrate. So thank you for your time and your consideration, and we will be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments from the board?
I don't have any questions, but I say this is relative new organization based in Zebulon. I spoke with Mr. Wiggins today to learn more. He and his wife are a great asset to our community. Their lives and contribution to this community line up with three words I value and take to heart: unity through community. I truly believe the Wiggins and their organization has the potential to help many families deal with tragedy, and they deserve our support. I would very much like for the town to be supportive, and I make the motion to waive all fees for Angel Prince Corporation events on October 15, 2022.
We're still asking questions, I believe.
Please.
Thank you. So I don't know anything about your 501c3, and I did try to find information on it, but it's just not there. And part of our facility use policy is asking that there's a substantial presence in the community, including but not necessarily a physical permanent location. In addition, there's in the facility use policy, it asks for a proven track record over time of contributions to the benefit of the town, its institutions, and its citizens. And so I hear you out there in the community being awesome. And I see you out in the community being fantastic. And I appreciate everything that you do to support our town. But I just haven't seen it yet with your 501c3. Could you explain a little bit more how you're going to be performing outreach. Are you going to have like licensed professionals that are assisting you? Please help me understand a little bit more about what your 501c3 entails.
So part of our plan starting out, as we said before, we're new. Part of our plan starting out is to provide care packages and care boxes for bereaved mothers and families. That'll be our primary focus. Starting out, this is it'll be a box that will contain items that helped my wife, Tashina, get through the grieving process throughout this process, from then January 2021 leading up to now. That'll be our primary focus. We plan to branch out and partner with different hospitals, different medical facilities. We are partnering with Wait Med to provide care boxes for bereaved mothers and families. So that's our primary focus starting out. And then we will move into more of the grief support, having a support group, being able to provide, that emotional support, not only to the mother, but to fathers who've experienced this also. A lot of times, the fathers get overlooked because we have to be the strong ones. We have to be the rock for the family. I had to be her support. And so a lot of times, the psychological health of the father in all of this can get overlooked. So that's something that we plan on doing as well, and we'll do that through training and the necessary steps to do that.
Do you have the training to be able to facilitate these types of groups, or is this something that how are you providing that?
Yeah, so we have become a national share chapter with Share Pregnancy Infant Loss Support. They are a nationally known grief support group, and we've recently become an area chapter for them. They did not have a presence in Wake County prior to now, and so we have become the first chapter for them, and they are providing the support that we'll need and the materials and resources that we'll need and the necessary training we'll need to be able to perform our mission and our goals.
So how are you reaching out to families now? You mentioned Wake Med, but how are you going to be able to serve our community, the people of Zebulon?
A good example will be events like we hope to hold on October 15th, different outreach events. Like I love golf, so we plan to do golf tournaments, things that people will be able to relate to, things that people will come out and support, bowling tournaments, basketball tournaments, anything that we feel that the community will get behind. Those are the things that we plan to do in order to raise awareness.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. and Ms. Wiggins, as someone who has personally also been through this grieving process, I want to say thank you for this nonprofit organization that you all have created. I think that is something that is needed, something that our community can benefit from. As you stated, a lot of the times in these situations, the male or the husband or the partner is sometimes overlooked. And so as a husband, I appreciate the support that you all will provide for those who are supporting women who are going through this grieving process, because it is a process that you definitely need support in. So thank you for this, and thank you for the opportunity to bring something like this to Zebulon.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments from the board?
I make a motion that we approve.
I'm sorry, we already have a motion and a second on the floor.
Did she
Okay,
cut
well
off and
then,
approve it?
I would like to make sure that the board understands that currently this 501c3 does not check the boxes, and that we'll be setting precedent, and we should just keep that in consideration.
Thank you.
We have a roll call. Commissioner Louts?
We're no longer discussing, just voting.
Well, we've had a second. So, discussion if you have.
Yeah, but one of the things I'm thinking about is possibly waiving the half-day $600 fee, but letting them pay the $250 expense for the additional staff.
I think the motion was waive all fees.
Waive all fees, correct.
That's correct. That was the motion, but I thought we were still in the discussion
Okay.
mode.
You could make a motion to amend his motion, if that's what you would like to do, but there's a motion and a second on the floor. So the only way to change it would be for him to rescind it, or you to make a motion to amend.
Yeah, the board can consider, I'll make a motion to amend the motion that we waive the $600 half-day fee and still have them provide the certificate of insurance, the security deposit, and only pay for staff, which is approximately $250.
I think that if they're providing a certificate of insurance, that they don't need to provide the additional $600.
I'm going by the form in our policy.
Discussion?
I have to ask for a second on the amended motion.
Yeah. Is there a second on the amendment to Commissioner Laus' recommendation? Motion. Hearing none,
Dies for
then
a second.
the amendment motion dies.
Dies, correct.
So we're back to the original motion. And we've had a second. Any more discussion? So we have a roll call vote.
In favor of the motion.
Favor.
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 Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your community work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whitley Building Encroachment Agreement and Stormwater Easement Agreement.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, member of the board. Tonight before you is kind of a unique opportunity that we don't frequently see. As everybody's aware, Whitley Galleries recently closed, and they're in the process of marketing the site. During their due diligence process, as part of that, it was discovered that they have several buildings that actually encroach into a right-of-way that is located behind their buildings into an alleyway that the town had thought for a while was part of the railroad property. We do have an 8.5-foot encroachment as shown on the screen in this location, as well as loading dock in this location, along with, once again, this location, and the loading dock, as well as HVAC units and other items. While the HVAC units are movable, the structures themselves are not. And as such, the broker for the project approached the town to inquire about some sort of way to either vacate this alleyway or possibly pursue an encroachment agreement. When they approached us, we realized additionally the town had needs as it relates to the stormwater component. We currently have a failing stormwater system in portions of our downtown, or close to. It's in significant need of upgrading. As such, it was discovered that we do currently have a stormwater pipe that actually goes underneath one of the buildings in approximately this location. Is that correct, Chris? In approximately this location? Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. And as you're aware, having a stormwater pipe underneath a structure makes it very difficult not only to maintain it, but also to repair and reinstall new pipe. Therefore, we would be requesting a stormwater easement. The closest location would be this site here, which just happens to be owned by the same property owners. So essentially, we had an opportunity for a win-win situation. In order for the properties to close and get bank funding, they need to take full control over their areas within inside the building. Most lending institutions will frown upon the idea of lending money to entities that have encroachments that are not otherwise approved by the municipality. They're existing in this current configuration. As drawn up in the proposed resolution and agreement, it would allow the building owners to retain the existing structures within the alleyway. It would not allow for addition, and if these buildings were ever torn down, any new structures would need to be built in full compliance. In return, the property owner would grant the town a construction easement and a permanent stormwater easement to be located in that approximate location. What this does is it will prohibit the property owner from constructing any new buildings on that area, essentially making this area undevelopable. They'll still be able to utilize it for things such as parking and other minor improvements that could be removed and reinstalled, but it would not allow for the construction of more permanent structures such as buildings. The draft agreement was drafted by the town attorney, so some of the legal implications, the town attorney will be able to address those. We also do have the property owners as well as the broker for the development present tonight to answer any questions that you might have. Staff does recommend approval of the draft agreement as presented, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
Sorry, it's also important to note that before you tonight, you do have a couple options. One option is to approve the agreement as drafted, approve the agreement as modified, subject to the attorney's consent, deny the agreement, which then brings up questions of what do we do with these buildings located in the alleyway? Do we require that they tear that portion down or table this to further discussion either at a work session or an additional meeting?
Questions, comments from the board?
Do we have any idea how many other areas of town where we have the same problem, where we've allowed encroachment into public right-of-ways?
No, we don't. Given the nature, the history, the configuration of the town, surveying methods, this is something that's not unique to Zebulon. It's actually extraordinarily common to all municipalities that I'm aware of. And these situations are discovered on a case-by-case scenario. Where they are discovered, especially in a situation where time is of the essence, they have to be addressed on a situation-by-situation basis.
Hearing nothing, I make a motion we approve Resolution 2023-03. Is that what it? And what the resolution and
The accompanying encroachment agreement.
Right. Yes. The accompanying agreement.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Motion with no second, so the motion dies.
I would like to make a motion that we table this for further discussion at a work session, at our August work session.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to table it to the August work session. Any discussion?
I'd just like to make a
Part of
statement.
this discussion, could I ask the property owners a question?
Sure.
Okay. If I could get the property owners to come up. This is just off the top of my head, sitting here looking at the map. As you know, we need additional parking downtown, is something we've been working on. And since that lot cannot be built on, would you consider or entertain the idea of donating that lot where the stormwater is going to go under it so the town could possibly use that as public parking? And I know this is just off the top of my head, and I'm catching you guys off guard here.
Is that a 25-foot section plus maybe 10 more foot in the orange? So you're looking at 35 foot of street in front.
I'm not property owner in that particular piece, so I'm going to circle it.
Okay.
If we were to do something like that, is it possible to move it to where the far end of the property where it would not split the property, which is only about 25 more feet west? It's a retaining wall.
That would be a question that we would have to confirm with the engineering consultant to make sure that we could get both the stormwater easement as well as the construction easement into that location.
Because the property would still be available for parking for whoever buys and uses those buildings. It just would add to our public parking spaces downtown. And nothing can be built on that lot anyhow, so it's going to end up being parking for somebody.
Yeah, my understanding is that this is going to be an easement. And of course, you can't build on the easement, and I'm sure there's some setbacks to that as well. So that could be used for public parking. But the way it was presented to us is that it's a very beneficial trade-off to both the property owners and the town.
And like I said, this is just off the top of my head, and actually walked the property today and saw that and was thinking it may make a nice little parking lot, because that's what's going to end up being used as.
In all likelihood, I would think so. Yeah.
We do know that that is an area that is needed by the town for access for the public works, because water backs up. It is a low spot in the Vance Street area that backs up during flooding times. And it backs up literally to the steps of one of the warehouses across the street. But if they don't have access through there, they can't get to the storm drains.
I haven't thought of it in the way you just mentioned. I just thought with planning and the public works, it was a rather brilliant solution for everyone involved.
Yeah, we're looking for a win-win situation, and also the element of speed, so this doesn't get drug out. But that was just a discussion.
I'd like to ask back, why is that orange more than the 25-foot? Their lot numbers, that would be probably lot 14.
I believe that's so that the construction of the stormwater pipe can happen. That's just for the construction portion of it. That wouldn't be necessarily, like, that would be part of the easement, correct, if we need to go in and make repairs?
That's correct. The specific details and breakdown of each of those individual widths are included as Exhibit A in the packet. It shows 10-foot construction easement, 40-foot permit storm drainage easement, and then additional 10-foot construction easement on the opposite side, which does go approximately from that property line almost to the building's edge.
And certainly there's a motion on the floor to table this, so if you needed extra time to consider it and to do any consulting.
May I throw something out there that, what would you think if we donated the town all of that back up to the retaining wall for the parking lot? The business can use and the town can use. That we would be giving them more than they're asking. because that kind of leaves 25 foot over there that doesn't get split. So,
none of your buildings have any parking other than street parking. There's been two different people interested in buying that building who would bring pretty attractive.
I'm sorry, can you come to the podium to speak, please?
This is what we table, correct?
Hi, excuse me. My name is Mark Schwabens. I'm the broker for the Whitley family. I've been working on this project since October, November. I was the one that suggested right out of the gate that we survey everything to make sure we knew exactly what we were dealing with. Right now, the property's being sold individually. At first, we contemplated selling the whole thing to a developer, but that wasn't really going to create the kind of feel in the town that we thought was going to make sense. Lots of different businesses, lots of different uses. Just wasn't working to sell the whole thing at one time. So we broke it up as individual sales, and we've had two people looking at this building. As a matter of fact, someone today is preparing an offer. And the easement that's being suggested, this easement's worth a lot of money. The family, in my opinion, would charge roughly $4 a surface foot for the value of that easement. And there's been no mention that we were asking for any money for that. So it really started as a win-win, just to trade back and forth. Let's get rid of the encumbrances so we can sell these buildings and bring some occupants into downtown Zebulon. And then, I guess it was Mr. Craig came forward and said, hey, we need a utility easement. And then he asked for one, I mean, it's of decent size. Plus, you notice the construction easement, you need a lot of width to build it all. This is, from my perspective, I've been doing this for 44 years. This is totally a win-win situation for the town.
I guess we can just continue our discussions and thoughts as we approach to the work session, if we're going to table it.
I think the work session is needed. It's going to benefit us both ways. Now that we have the information that has been given to us, we can also utilize that during the work session to kind of further the discussion.
Did you,
What
Jim?
type of time limit, I mean, to hold, will this hold up any offer or?
We have a pending sale, and this would hold it up. It's a sale of not quite $1 million. And yeah, this would foil the timing.
So it is timely.
I'm simply glad we decided to survey all this early on, and we found this stuff out before it turned into a real problem. And right now, from my perspective, I understand you probably don't get to do this every single day. I don't get to stand up here every single day. But I've been involved in these encroachment issues many, many times in my career. And normally they're pretty simple to clear up. But this is one unique situation where both parties get something of substantial value. More so the town, in my opinion.
I also think it's important to note that in this context, and correct me if I'm wrong, the property owners are requesting just to retain what's there, in return allow for the town to acquire a much-needed storm drainage easement.
And so just to make sure I understand, we can either approve the encroachment, we can deny the encroachment, or we can ask them to remove those portions of the building that are encroaching.
That would be essentially the same as denying the encroachment, is to ask them to tear down the back portions of those buildings. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
And so if we don't act soon on this, this is going to help the growth of Zebulon. It is bringing businesses downtown. So, you know, I agree with you. I think it's a win-win.
I think where we're at right now, for as growth-wise, that building is high demand. We know that right now. So tabling it and discussing it, having a work session, would benefit all parties involved as well. They seem to put them on the spot and make them make a command decision right now, as far as like giving us land or maybe. I don't think that's fair to the citizen as well. So us sitting back and having a little time to think on it, as well as the citizen to assess what they want to do, is going to benefit everybody right now. So tabling it for a little while, and we understand the urgency of that to make that decision, which we will do, and adhere to that. And I want the citizens to understand that we know the importance of that building. So not that we would delay any factor in any shape, form, or fashion. We just want to make sure that you guys get what you deserve, as well as the town. That is it for me.
And so this would come back for a vote on September 12th unless we came to something that we all felt comfortable about. And I would have no problem voting on this issue at our work session, if everyone else is in agreement, and that is on the 18th. So that would be.
That's only
just a
9
few more
days.
Yeah.
Time to consider some of the questions that Commissioner Laus has asked about the parking.
Comment. From all of my research, it looks to me like that building was built before the town was incorporated and the alley was ever put in place. I think the building's older than the.
Into August 18th.
Favor.
I'm not going to vote with that, no, against it.
You see before you, Truist Bank at 3.2% and with no fees and Signature Public Fund.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then as part of the the funding agreement, the reimbursement resolution is required if we were to basically prepay before the finance is in place for the equipment. That may or may not happen, just depending on the timing of the equipment and the billing of it. So if it does happen, this is just like a safety net to cover us as far as tax exempt funding goes. So 2023-06 is what that is about. Any questions on that?
Questions, comments from the board?
Yep. I move to approve resolution 2023-06.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll vote.
Favor.
Favor.
Favor?
Favor.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, this would be for the items pulled from the agenda.
Excuse me?
This would be for the items pulled from the agenda.
Yes.
We would be starting with the May 3rd minutes.
I think that was pulled.
That was taken care of.
They didn't see the
I didn't see the corrected
the
version.
corrected version.
Thank you.
So that
Thank
was
you.
that was pulled.
Thank you.
So do we need a
next
motion
was-
to approve those minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the May 3rd minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, pass. The next one was the June 6 minutes.
Yes, I would just like to ask that my board comments be captured in their entirety, please.
I'm not sure what that means.
The entire of my board comments from June 6th, and if you need those, I mean, I'm sure that we can go to the YouTube video to capture those.
Are you asking for verbatim minutes
Yeah, please.
of the whole meeting?
No, just for my portion of the board comments. That's it.
We need a motion.
If the board so chooses to do that, yes.
I move to approve the June 6 minutes as amended.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll vote.
Favor.
Favor.
Favor?
Motion passes. The next was board schedule change.
Oh, yes.
That was,
On the second page past the actual meeting. Down at the bottom, it says all meetings will begin at 6 p.m. unless otherwise advertised. And I'd just like it to reflect that the Board of Commissioners meetings are still meeting at 7 p.m. and that it's the work session meetings that are at 6 p.m. I'm assuming that that's what was meant.
Yes, that's under the work session, so that's what it's referring to. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just so that we are all on the same board and not changing our Board of Commissioners meetings to 6 p.m., that they will remain at 7.
Is there a motion?
So I move to approve the amendment of the mini retreat meeting schedule.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Favor.
Roll vote. Motion passes. Budget adjustment.
Yes. Since our budget is a living document, I have a couple of things that we weren't able to get to, or that I feel like we still need to have a discussion about after the June 13th meeting. I would like to recommend a adjustment to the budget using the funds that were set aside for the staff bonuses. There were $175,000 that went back into the general fund. I would like us to use those to address the pay compression in both the fire department as well as the police department, and split that remaining $175,000 in half and allow the fire department and the police department to iron out more of that pay compression.
We have a motion.
I second that.
This discussion. Comments?
Discussion or question, would we see, before this was actually done, would we see a list of people's salaries and what the adjustments would be for fire and police departments?
I would be fine with that.
Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how we would give $175,000 to 2 department heads.
Questions? Comments from manager?
Sure, thank you. Pay compression was addressed in the budget that was submitted in FY23. If the board would like to consider additional addressing of compression, I think they would benefit by us doing an analysis and bringing it back to them. So consideration for the board to consider is modifying the motion to direct staff to come back with an analysis showing how the retention, what I'm assuming is the retention funds that were not used, how they could be applied to address additional compression in the police department and the fire department. Just a recommendation.
So do we want to table this?
No, I'm fine with going with the manager's recommendation, as long as the way that this is worded, it is not as a bonus, but this is actually as addressing the pay compression issue.
We can come back with more details talking about what is a bonus and what is salary. If it's the board's wishes, particularly the commissioner who made the motion, they would need to amend their motion, and the second would have to be amended as well. That it's not an action, but it's a request for the staff to come back with a report.
Just amend your motion.
All right, I'm going to amend my motion, make a motion to instruct staff to do an analysis on the ways that they can complete or at least further address their pay compression in their departments and then come back before the board with their answers.
That's good.
I second
We
that.
need a second.
I second it.
Any discussion? Roll vote.
Favor?
Not in favor.
Not in favor.
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 Motion passes. The next was project rollover.
Well, are we okay to adopt 2023-01 then as is? Because that hasn't been done yet, right?
That's what we're doing now. Project and program rollover. The ordinance 2023-01, correct?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He was stating if we are on ordinance 2023-01, fiscal year 2022. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. Just give me a second to find it. Okay, thank you.
Is that where we're at?
Yeah, ordinance 2023-01, FY22 projects and program rollovers.
Basically on that one for me, is that I wanted to know kind of like what kind of upgrades were being done for the 22,000 in the interview room for the police station. Just kind of what kind of upgrades are we doing in that? That may, Chief may be able to answer a little better, I'm not sure.
Good evening. So the system that we have in the interview right now is extremely antiquated, and we need to upgrade to have better video and audio surveillance. So this will be a system that allows us to record interviews in the interview rooms. It's stored as evidence, so it can't be manipulated, but it allows us to go in and retrieve it from a variety of different workstations. We can burn it down to DVD to send to the district attorney's office, or we can send it electronically to the district attorney's office. It's a fairly common surveillance system that has a recording feature to it.
So that's the vast majority of the 22,000?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
We need a motion.
I make a motion we adopt ordinance 2023-01.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll vote.
Favor?
Favor.
Favor.
Motion passes. The next was donation grant rollover.
For that one, is basically what is covered / included in the Blue Cross Blue Shield Wellness Grant.
You said what is it?
Correct. What is included in it?
When we switched to Blue Cross beginning of 2021, as part of the enrollment process, they basically awarded us a $40,000 wellness grant, and that was not spent last year. So what that is just rolling it over to this year.
No.
Excuse me, 2022.
Okay.
So we only had it for 6 months, basically, and it was not spent, so it's being rolled over.
Okay, thank you. And then also, one more question for the chief on that ordinance as well. One statement is saying, I want to know kind of like a little bit better understanding of what all is included in community policing. That was one aspect we had in there.
It could be a variety of different things. It might be pencils and rulers that we buy and take to the different elementary schools when we go out there. It could be hosting a national night out when we have a DJ come and play. It's anything that allows us to engage community in outreach activities, non-enforcement kinds of ways. And even to the extent of like crime prevention strategies, working with businesses to help them and residents to help them find ways to keep themselves from being victim of crime. So if we had to, we don't have to, but if we had to pay East Wake TV to put together a PSA or something, we might use it along those kinds of lines. Those are just some ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Need a motion?
I have one
You
more
have another
question.
comment?
I have one more question. In that resolution 2023-07, I had one more. It's also the utility grant for the chief as well. This is for you, the chief as well?
Are we off of?
No, we're still on 23. Oh, yeah. We made a motion for the 2023-02.
We did not make a motion for the 2023-02.
No?
We didn't make a motion for the 2023-02.
Okay.
So we need,
Did you have another question for
Not
the
on that
chief
one.
about that?
No.
So you're looking for a motion on
2023.
2023-02?
Correct.
I move to approve ordinance 2023-02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
discuss.
Roll vote.
Pass.
Favor?
Favor.
Quentin, raise your hand again.
Oh,
Motion passes. And let's see. The other one was it Grant, Governor's Crime Commission?
correct.
Chief?
Basically for this one, my question has no bearing on my support of utilizing this grant. I would just like the opportunity to read the contract referred to this resolution. Where can I obtain a copy of the contract? Thank you.
Are you asking me to read it?
No, ma'am, I'm asking where can I obtain a copy of the contract? And basically,
It's in this public record right now. Oh, the contract, once we establish it with
Yes, ma'am.
Governor's Crime Commission?
yes, ma'am.
It will be housed in our financial files.
It'll also be filed with us, but anybody can provide you a copy of it once it's been executed.
Because in the document, it says we've already read it and approved it somewhat, so I didn't know if this was something prior to my coming on board or something that's new to us.
You approved the grant application,
Right.
which we made in January.
Right.
We have not entered into a contract yet.
Okay.
This resolution allows us to enter
Correct.
into a contract.
So
with
once we get it, we'll get copies of that.
Yep.
That's very fine. Thank you.
Motion?
I move to approve resolution 2023-07.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll vote.
Favor?
Favor.
Favor.
Motion passes. Was there any other items?
Resolution 2023-01, Pierce's Landing. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that one pulled?
I don't believe that one was pulled.
It wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't, all right.
No,
I didn't get that one.
it wasn't full.
Nobody pulled it.
We can move into old business now, Ms. Markland? Or new business?
New business?
No, we're done. We're at
Board comments.
board comments and then managers.
Do we need the business development updates?
Oh, yeah, under new business.
Yeah.
I requested we add business development updates only because over the last weeks or months, Facebook is kind of loaded with people posting all kinds of crazy things about businesses closing, businesses moving, etc. And I would just like to get straight from the horse's mouth. The Planet Fitness story, why Popeyes has not opened. I think I have answers, but you have better, more current answers. So if you'd like to clear up some of the confusion on
Please.
Facebook.
And Rose is leaving.
And Rose is leaving, yes.
Set us straight.
Yes, well, we did speak with several different entities, with Rose's as well as Triangle East Shopping Center, and the information conveyed to us from all of those parties is Rose's is not leaving. at this point in time. There's no indication of any movement or relocation of that business at this point in time. We also did reach out to Planet Fitness. They are actively looking for potential opportunities here, but they do not have any contracts or any locations that they're willing to share with us at this point in time. They are aware of the process, including working with our staff in terms of building code requirements as well as zoning compliance permits. So when they do find a location, we'll be able to assist them in opening up. Popeyes is still moving forward. There's a combination of factors, including some material delays, road improvements. Some of those things will still need to be taken care of before they are able to open. But our staff has received no indication otherwise. Tractor Supply is still moving forward. They've already gone through one of their TRC reviews. They're reviewing the comments. We're anticipating resubmittal of that project. Is there another one that I'm forgetting?
Please take credit for one of the best secrets in town, and that's on the planning website, your IDM, Interactive Development Map.
Yes. I wish I could take credit for this, but this is really the planning department staff. I am not this technically savvy, but fortunately I work with some incredible people that are. If folks do have questions about what is coming to town, we do have a portion on the planning page. On the left-hand side, when you click to what's coming to Zebulon, it brings up a new page for our interactive development map. The map will typically pop up here, but it's good to click on this because it brings it into full screen. This brings into context not only the current, and I say all this and it's not going to work now. Okay, this is what it looks like. Not only the current activity in terms of construction, but also what is being proposed, as well as what might require board approval. As an example, there are several things that are under review that will require a joint public hearing, such as the potential Wake Lawn Mills subdivision. We just recently received a couple that you'll be seeing later on this fall for a potential subdivision adjacent to Weaver's Pond. One of the wonderful components of the interactive development map is when you zoom in, you can actually click on the parcels. When our internet wants to work better, you can actually bring up the actual plan sets. As an example, this is the plan set that was submitted for the Tractor Supply. So it creates a greatest level of transparency by allowing the community to see the exact same information that the planning department sees in determining whether we're going to make a recommendation to approve or not to approve, as well as the steps that we're going through to work with the builders and the contractors to approve things such as Tractor Supply and Popeyes. It all starts back on the planning department webpage under what's coming to Zebulon.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to board comments.
One question, I have one comment for Mike as well.
Okay.
Where do we stand, when you talk about development, where do we stand for the hair shop right by Harris's? Where are they at in their process of getting their grand opening and getting their open? Where do we stand with that?
There's, to the last of my knowledge, they're still working with are you talking about the shop that we discussed adjacent to Harris Barbershop?
That is correct.
Yes. There are building code requirements, and last I was informed, the property or the business owner is working with our contracted building department to make sure that meets the North Carolina building code in terms of some of the infrastructure requirements for the restrooms for ADA compliance internal.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Board comments?
I'll start off.
Yes.
First of all, remind everyone this Friday night we have Rock the Block on Horton Street. The street will be closed from 6 to 9. Please bring a chair. We expect to have a huge crowd down there. Second of all, a shout out and happy birthday, or I should say happy anniversary, to the Zebulon Chamber of Commerce. They'll be 75 years old on August the 12th. And third, if you've not commented on the branding, survey, tagline, etc., please do so and get your comments into us. We need to hear from you. Thank you.
We've had a lot of comments on the branding thing. I would like to just mention that as we get ready to enter into a new school year for our educators and our students, I want to encourage everyone to, as our outstanding, Miss Zebulon outstanding teen has told us, kind is cool. And so as we get ready to enter a new school year, to remember to be kind and compassionate to our educators as well as our students. A lot of our students are still trying to catch up from their COVID year, and which has been the COVID a few years. So as we get ready to ramp back up for another school year, to just remember to be compassionate to our educators as well as our students and administrators within our school system. Thank you to each and every educator that is pouring out their heart and soul to our students and continuing to train up our next generations.
I'd just like to say it's great to be back after our summer break during July. It's nice to be back and see everybody. It's nice to see the public come out and support us, and we continue to work for the town of Zebulon.
I would like to give a huge shout out to Tracy and the entire Miss Zebulon organization. Our very own Kerrigan Brown, Miss Zebulon Outstanding Teen, and Miss North Carolina Outstanding Teen is currently in Dallas, Texas, competing for the title Miss America Outstanding Teen this week. We wish her luck. Also, as Commissioner Laus has also reiterated, that Friday, remember Rock the Block. Also, I would like to give a shout out there again for all the citizens coming out tonight and giving support. That was greatly appreciated. And if you haven't been to the nearest pizza spot, Armando's, their grand opening was today. I highly recommend you check it out. And lastly, as always, I want to just say thank you to the entire town staff for their dedication to continually improving our town and making Zebulon the best it can be. Unity through community.
Mr. Baxter?
So the reason why we met tonight instead of last week at what would have been our normally scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting was because I was away in Chapel Hill at a program called Advanced Leadership Corps. That's put on by the School of Government and subsidized heavily through an organization called Empower. And I just wanted to bring back to all of you that it was transformational. And I can't speak highly enough of the facilitators. I spent an entire week amongst county commissioners from across the state, municipal leaders from across the state, and even a couple of school board members. And there was some really intense work done. It was sometimes 14, 16 hours a day that we were working. But I feel so empowered and rejuvenated and excited to be back here in Zebulon, engaging in municipal government. And I look forward to using the skills that I obtained there to continue to work to make this place as awesome as we possibly can. And I would like to thank one of the other prior graduates of the course, Commissioner Beverly Clark, for coming out to my graduation ceremony in Chapel Hill to support me. That was lovely to see a familiar face. It was fantastic to get the support. And I'd just like to reiterate how awesome the dedication of our elected officials is here in Zebulon, because not only am I now a graduate of that course, but Mayor York is a graduate, Commissioner Clark is a graduate, and former Mayor Bob Matheny was in the first cohort. So that's 4 people from the town of Zebulon, and they have only had 155 participants from across the state during the entire time this class has been provided. So you can tell that we really care about making sure that we are the best leaders that we can be. And so I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to those that have already gone through the course, and I look forward to actually, I know that Commissioner Laux has expressed an interest in attending at a future date, so definitely worth the time and investment of effort. It really is helping me to look at things through a new lens, and I appreciate that so very much. We have a new residence guide to Zebulon, which is available. And I've got to say, there's a little room for improvement. However, there's some awesome things in here, y'all. What I love the most is that there's some QR codes that you can just go ahead and snap, and it will bring you right to exactly where you need to be on our website. And that's amazing. That's exactly what we need. It's taken us in the right direction. And I even have a little note that I wrote under the solid waste pickup. It says, yay, because you can snap this little QR code. And if you have forgotten what day it is, if you're supposed to put out your recycling and your trash, it will tell you. So I think that there will probably be a second iteration that addresses a couple of the spelling mistakes, a couple of the things that we didn't quite capture correctly. But I'm so thrilled that we were able to put this out. So pick up a copy. Don't be too critical if you notice that dining is spelled dinning. And just know that this is our first effort at something that's, really needed for our town.
Thank you.
Chair. Go to Rock the Block. The end.
I just want to thank Commissioner Miles and Commissioner Laux for joining me yesterday. Also, Manager Moore for the Wake County work session on the Mudcats player development criteria for Major League Baseball, and you will hear more about that as we move forward. But thanks for your support for being there yesterday and all the comments. Also, Miss Outstanding Teen, Kerrigan Brown, the reception that we had for her on the 31st was fantastic. We really sent her off well, and we wish her well. That's real huge, going to the Miss America pageant and representing a little town like us on a national level. I think we all should be proud of that. Also, I have been appointed to the Legislative Committee for North Carolina League of Municipalities. We'll be focusing on an agenda on a state and a federal level to bring policies. So if any of you guys got ideas or some things that we need to address with our legislatures or even our federal representatives, I will be on that board helping formulate those policies. I was appointed by the president of the board for North Carolina League of Municipalities. Congratulations to Commissioner Baxter. I was on my way to putting that pen on because, as you had mentioned, we went through that program, and believe me, folks, it is intense. I recommend it for everyone, and I don't think anyone can leave there being the same person that they were when they first got there. That's just how intense it is. It's long hours. It's some topics that really get to the heart and soul, and it makes us better people, better leaders. So thank you, Commissioner Baxter, for that accomplishment, and we're proud of that.
Thank you, sir.
Manager's comment.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Just some previews of some items that are coming your way and to keep the citizens informed. also as a way to kind of provide some grounding to the different schedules of different meetings because we've done a lot of adjustments. But the next meeting is your August work session. Work sessions, just as a naming device to help it keep it in your mind. It's the third Thursday, so unfortunately we can't make the ZDAC meetings, but third Thursday is the work session. For the August work session, this board will hear a continuation of what the mayor was just referring to, of the presentation about upgrades to 5 county stadiums. So it will be a repeat of what the Wake County Commissioners heard yesterday. We'll have representatives from Wake Med come out and talk to us a little bit about the uptick of mental health issues that they are addressing and how it is affecting the services that we provide in our community, most notably in our law enforcement and our firefighting and emergency services capabilities. We've had quite a successful public-private partnerships in both the St. Patrick's Day event and the Juneteenth event. Those are really good events, recognizing that the town can't put on all events, but we can partner with different groups. We have not codified what that looks like, so this board will start to craft a policy based upon those experiences and some general observations. So they'll be discussing the creation of a public-private event policy. The last work session of the FY23 budget, the board discussed visiting board compensation and tabled it to the August work session, so that will be a topic. And then just tonight, the Whitley easement, for lack of a better way to frame that discussion, got tabled to that discussion as well. So for those that are looking for a heads up of topics that are coming their way, that will be the August work session. We have also introduced this year, because we're a quickly growing town, second fastest growing town in the state, and so we're having to deal with a lot of issues. And so we've started to implement what we're calling mini retreats. And for the months that we have implemented those are the Thursday following the work session. There was a schedule conflict for the one that we had scheduled, so the next mini retreat, even though it was scheduled for August, is actually going to be in September 8th. And it's going to be at the Creative Cup. We're trying to get away by staying in town. One of the things that the board will be discussing is there's a lot of project needs. You heard tonight storm drain improvements. You all know about transportation improvements needed. You've probably heard about fire station upgrades. And there's a lot of needs out there. So this board will start to develop prioritization and how to fund all those many projects out there. It is a public meeting. Anytime this group gets together, it's a public meeting. You can certainly welcome to watch us online. And then the last thing, and this is just a schedule update, typically the board has their regular meeting on the first Monday of the month. That is Labor Day, so that meeting is actually September 12th. So that was it. Just wanted to provide the community updates on schedules, but most specifically on the work session, give them a brief preview of the topics coming their way. And that concludes the manager's report.
Had a couple of other comments. We had Wake County Commissioner Vicki Adamson to come out and tour the Mudcat Stadium with us. Commissioner Laus was also there, and I think it gave her a bird's eye view of just what we are up against with these major league player development criteria. And she said it was very helpful, and she enjoyed the tour. It was hot. And also, I just found out that Jonas Smith, our Wake Weekly reporter, today is his last day. We certainly enjoyed him reporting on the town, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. That's it. If no other comments,
I move we adjourn.
second, all in favor? Adjourn.